Hello, welcome to CashCalc TV. My name is Ray Adams, the in-house Chartered Financial Planner. Today I'm going to do a slightly longer video and actually look at a cash flow in action for a client. And this particular client was an actual client of mine we saw a few weeks ago. We've actually just changed all the client names and the pension names just to keep confidentiality. But the basic principle of the cash flow is as real with the client. This is an example report which we printed off, branded up with a company logo. So to give you a little bit of a flavor about the client, she was 54 3/4 years of age, and sadly just got divorced, had a 14-year-old son, had been made redundant by her employer, and had to buy her ex-husband out of the house. So she's now sat there with a reasonably small mortgage, but nevertheless a mortgage which she's had to take on at nearly 55. She can only get a part-time job because she needs to look after her son. So let's just look at the figures and see exactly what we've got. So we've logged on to CashCalc, and I'm at the suite of calculators page. So it's an advanced cash flow. And as you can see here on the top right-hand corner, the client has completed and submitted their online data capture form. So the first thing I did is open that up, had a look at it. The figures seem to pass the common sense test there. Client seems to have done that correctly, and in fact from our experience our return rate is close to 100%, and in general the clients do get it correct. So first thing I'm going to do there is actually print a copy of that into the client's compliance file. Just take a PDF copy. Then I'm going to import the data in, and as you can see I've already previously done this, and I've actually created 5 reports for this particular client. So the first one on the left is keep her DB, which stands for defined benefit, and take it at age 60. Because while she's been made redundant from her employer, she does have a final salary pension, which is set to be a normal retirement age of age 60. So we've just set the forecast up as if she does take the pension at 60. So she leaves it there for just over 5 years, just works part-time, and then takes the pension. So there's no actuarial reductions. As you can see, the client only has a very small amount of savings, £5,000 in the current account. There's the income and expenditure we've imported in, and you can see their salary, very modest salary, working part-time, £453 a month. The child benefit, and as you can see the child benefit there is ending at 58, because we're anticipating the son at 18 not going on to further education. She's getting working tax credits because she's a single mum, and her mother, so the grandmother to the 14-year-old boy, is helping her out and giving her £200 a month towards food. So this is not a rich client by any stretch of the imagination. Here's the nuts and bolts now. The final salary pension, about £9,000 a year, so we got £750 a month there, and a £46,000 tax-free cash. We've just made up that she worked for Barclays. She actually worked for a completely different employer, but just for the ease of this cash flow. And then of course we've got the client's state pension. She initially thought she was going to get it at 65, but of course her, along with lots of other WASPy women, and she's not getting her pension till 66. Looking at her expenditure, you can see the expenditure there which she's given us, and instead of importing every single expenditure and detailing each one, we've actually grouped them together into housing costs, motoring costs, personal costs, etc. And that's an option when you import the data in. Looking at the cash flow, didn't really tell the client anything she didn't already know here. She's actually spending more than she's earning. So there's the expenditure line, which is, just under 18,000 a year or 1,500 a month, and there's all of her incomes coming in. There's a shortfall being met there, and I can go up to the right hand side and click on the key and actually remove that from there, and you can see the shortfall is being met, but only for a very short period of time with her savings. So we can actually have a look at the savings, what's happened to it. We know this client's only got 5,000. Very quickly that 5,000 is being depleted in year 1. And by the age of 60, she's running up a credit card or overdraft of £38,000. So clearly this is not a situation the client can proceed with. So the client actually said to me, so I've got no option, I need to take my pension at 55, is that correct? Well, I'd already prepared a forecast for that by cloning, and that was the subject of a different video, so just have a look at how to clone a forecast. So let's have a look at what we actually did. Took me about 20 minutes to do that first forecast, and then to clone it took a few seconds, and then to make the changes probably took 5 minutes in total. So the changes I've actually made, if you just go to the income and expenditure, all of the salary, child benefits, etc. stay the same, but this time of course we've applied an actuarial reduction to the pension because we're taking it 5 years early, and instead of $750 a month it's now $500 a month, and the tax-free cash is no longer $46,000, it's now $34,000. But everything else is identical. So what does that do to the cash flow? As you can see there now, a big blue bar showing the tax-free cash, and actually the savings lasting longer now. So again, remove the savings just so you can see, place the savings back in there, but clearly the savings are still running out. Let's have a look at them on that tab. So the money lasts a bit longer till 63. She still gets herself into trouble, and she runs up an overdraft of £20,000. You can clearly see in later life she's actually fine, but that's of course because the mortgage has been paid off. So the key problem for this lady is the mortgage and the monthly payment. So what other options we got? Well, actually it's final salary pension, and we do have the option to look at taking a cash equivalent transfer value and buying it out. This is a higher risk strategy than leaving it in the final salary, but of course this client, you know, is not in an ideal situation. So we've looked at that. We wrote to the final salary provider, and after our fees they offered a cash equivalent transfer value to be invested in a SIP of £240,000. Now, if any of you guys watching who do DB transfers, you're already quickly working out whether that's good value. In my opinion, it was good value. So we've entered the 240,000 into a SIP, and we've actually personalized it by saying this is a new SIP for the DB transfer. Of course, we need to make a few changes to the incomes and expenditure, because there's no longer going to be that final salary pension. So we've had to delete the pension and delete the tax-free lump sum. But all the other incomes are the same. In this particular case, we've left all the expenditures the same except for one thing. The client said, if we're going to take this, this bold move, can I actually buy myself a little second-hand car so I can get back and forth to work? So we've added an expenditure of £12,000, which was not included in the two previous forecasts, where the client was already running up an overdraft of 38,000 and 20,000. Of course, now because we have a SIP, any income we take is technically a withdrawal, so we actually go to the contribution withdrawal sections, and as you can see, I've placed in there now taking a tax-free cash of 25% at age 55, taking a net withdrawal of 24,000, which in this client situation would mean a gross withdrawal of around £30,000, and also a regular withdrawal of £200 a month just to top her income up. That gives us the option of having a cushion of money or a lump sum of money to actually clear that dreaded mortgage. What does that do to the cash flow? Well, in this particular example, we set the pension to have an investment return of 4%. So that's actually 2% above inflation, because we've set inflation at 2%. As you can see now on the cash flow, we got the 25% tax-free cash coming in, the net withdrawal. Wow, interestingly now, the savings does not run out until her late 90s. That's a steady, controlled withdrawal based on the information she's given us now, and actually fixing her problem of now while she's bringing up a 14-year-old son. But of course, there's lots of assumptions in here. We're assuming her spending is going to be the same. We're assuming inflation is going to be 2%, and we're assuming she's going to get a nice steady growth of 4%. You and I all know that things in the future don't always look as planned, but this is to give an idea and a flavour of what can happen. So let's clone that again, which we've already done, and let's look at just a 2% return. So this is actually real rate of return of nothing. So 2% inflation, 2% growth, so it's just standing still. So this is actually taking a very, very cautious option. You know, your SIP money you could place into some guaranteed products, and after charges should comfortably get 2%. What does that do? Looking at the cash flow, this time she's still fine while she's bringing up her son, but she's potentially going to run out of money in her early 80s. The client was absolutely delighted with this, because of course this is making the assumption that she just carries on working part-time. But of course, if we're going to provide an ongoing service and review with this client, there's a very good chance that as soon as her son hits 18, she may go back to work full-time. So this forecast is definitely not set in stone for the rest of her life. This is just to give her a flavour and help her make some decisions now. What we need to do is work with her going forward to make sure we review her situation as it changes. Is she still spending the money we expect? Are the returns what we expect? Is inflation what we expected? And we review this annually. Just to show the client what could potentially happen, and this is another cloned forecast showing a 6% return, so 4% above inflation. And you know, we're into dreamland now. In today's money, you know, at 90 she'd be passing on £200,000 to her son. What I'm showing you are some worst case scenarios and some fabulous best case scenarios. Not saying any of these are definitely going to happen. This is just to give the client an idea and a flavour. So what did we actually see there? What were we able to do? We spent about 11 or 12 minutes looking at that. Well, we had a client who came to us who was seriously going to have a difficult future, made redundant and all the rest of the things we discussed, and in fact then couldn't afford to survive even by taking the pension early. But by being able to show the client the potential options of doing a cash equivalent transfer value, there's a real possibility now that client's future, certainly for the next 5 or 10 years, is going to be significantly different following our advice and our demonstration of cash flow planning using CashCalc. It's actually not that difficult, guys. Just get in and use it. There's real value. The clients get really engaged by it, and of course you've got a lovely record of the advice from a compliance point of view. And of course now what have we got? We earned fees for giving the advice to the client. We've helped the client out, which is a great feeling for us, and we've still got, you know, a 6-figure sum under management and a reason to go and see that client each year to review it. And of course we're earning ongoing fees providing a great service to the client. Give it a go, guys. Thanks for listening.